The time has arrived and I'm so excited. Thanks to Andrew Holder from Holder Detailing. He also does some hauling on the side. He went and picked up this beautiful 1963 Cadillac Coupe de Ville for me, all the way in the St. Louis area. Andrew's actually the premier detailing business pretty much in Kansas. It's like the top. A lot of your customers are like very high-end customers.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Also, as you can see, he does some hauling. I'll go ahead and let you jump in and back it out. I'm very excited to see this thing. This is amazing. It's so hard to find these this nice. Thanks again, Andrew. You're welcome. Over the weekend, something really cool showed up. And no, it's not a customer's car. It's my new, well, kind of new, 1963 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. How did I do, Mrs. Wizard?
You might have done okay on this one.
This thing is amazing. It still needs some work. Still needs some things here or there. We're going to go over it and show you guys what I got. But this thing is a true survivor. So I got this thing just outside of St. Louis. It's about 8 hours from here. But the owner who sold it to me has only had it for a year or two, and he actually got it from Las Vegas, where it had spent its entire life since new. It's only got 87,000 miles on it. It's interesting to think in the early 60s in Vegas, there could have been some of the old school gangsters around. Maybe this is one of their cars. I don't know. If you're a Vegas native, you've seen this car around, or you know a story about this car, let us know in the comments. I'd be very interested to know. Otherwise, all I know is it's from Vegas since new. Let's go ahead and take a look around this thing. We're going to show you that although as beautiful as it is, when you get up close, it needs some serious attention. Isn't that a beautiful front end, Mrs. Wizard?
There is a lot of chrome on this girl.
Beautiful, beautiful car. As we go down the side, the paint is actually fairly decent. It's all original paint. It has not been repainted and sanded or messed with. It does have some fairly new Coker tires on it, the white walls. And we'll check the date code here in a little while. If they're still good, I'm going to keep them. I really like those on this car. It really fits the car very, very well. As I go down the side, you can see it is a two-door Coupe de Ville. Has all the bright work and trim in place. And I understand there's no serious rust, but we'll find out today. As we come around to the back, you can see it has really nice rear end, Mrs. Wizard.
Whoa, wait, you're looking at other girls' rear ends? Wizard.
Well, this one anyway. It has the remnants of the fins here. You can see them. In 59, they came out with really tall fins, and in 60, it went down. And then here we are in 63. It's not too much longer after this, they do away with the giant fins. These aren't giant, but you get what I mean. Just enough fin to be really, really classy, but not over the top. And again, down this side, it's not been dented or caved in. It's in really, really good shape. But around the front, so like I mentioned, this is original paint, and all of it has what's called crow's feet. It's from heat expansion cooling back and forth over the years. You can see right here, it looks like a little crow hopped all over the place while the paint was wet. Those are just little cracks. There's really no fix for that. You can see some dummy took a brick and tried to sand it or something. I don't know what they did. They did a terrible, terrible disservice to this beautiful vehicle. Luckily, it's only on the hood. The hood can come off and be painted, but I'm thinking once I get all the mechanicals fully sorted, which it already is in really good shape, I probably will get it fully repainted, nice, clean, black paint, just like it is originally. With all the different car makes and models I get through my shop, I really need to be at the top of my game. There's no room for having a rough day. To get my day started, I rely on AG1, sponsor of today's video. It's a foundational nutrition supplement drink that I can take every day that supports my whole body's health. Just mix 1 scoop with water in their special mixing cup and shake. That's it. Since I've been drinking AG1, I've noticed I have more energy. I'm not alone either. In a research study, 97% of participants felt more energy. Plus, I've even noticed my beard of knowledge is looking much better. You guys know I don't like to cut corners when working on cars. My body is the same way. I carefully watch my health and what I put into my body. I'm also willing to pay for a high quality product that I can trust. I know AG1 checks all the boxes when it comes to quality and safety, which is why I can feel confident starting every day with it. AG1 helps support your body with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, all to help you be your best you. All you have to do to get started is click the link below in the description or scan the code in the bottom left and 5 free travel packs. Now back to this beautiful Cadillac. So the big question is, and a lot of you may not even know, what's under the hood? And luckily, being this is a 60s car, there's no such thing as a hood release under the dash. It's done right out here. Ugh, big hood. This is a Cadillac 390. It is also the last year for this engine in 63. In 64, they went to a 429. It's basically the same engine with just some different sizing bore and stroke and everything. This one's in good shape. It runs great. It has a few oil leaks that need to be addressed, but as you can see by that big gold-colored air compressor, or AC compressor, I should say, it has aftermarket AC. That did not come that way from the factory, but at least it has AC. I'm happy about that. We can see our heater core has been bypassed, and luckily I don't have to pull the whole dash. I just pull that panel off. The heater core leaks. I can see down below to the left there's some rusty, crusty stuff at the corner, the bottom left corner down there. So it actually leaks. So I've got a new one on order. So it does have some valve cover gaskets leaking, which isn't too uncommon on these. I'll need to reseal that. This has an old Carter 4-barrel carburetor. It's kind of before the Quadrajets, but it runs great. It has good power. It doesn't leak. It doesn't run terrible, so I'll probably just leave it alone. It has the old school heat riser choke where actually heat comes off the intake, or the exhaust I should say, but I'll probably convert that to electric choke. And some of you probably already noticed it does not have the stock radiator in it. It has one that's called a cold case, that's what it's called. Radiator. It's a huge dual core aluminum radiator. I'll just leave it as is. It probably cools even better than the stock one. You see a little orange colored canister there. It's actually kind of a what they call a block heater, or whatever you can plug in with this cord. And cold weather. I don't know if it even works or if I'll even use it, so we'll see what we do with that. We can see here they fit a gigantic battery in here. It fits fine, but man, that's not really what's supposed to go there. It's a little overkill. But I know how old cars operate today with today's garbage gas. And the reason for that probably was after you drive it for a couple hours and park it, it will literally boil all the gas out of the carburetor. The fuel pump is not electric. The only way it pumps fuel is when it's cranking. So guess what? After all that fuel is boiled out, you come back after doing some shopping, you go to crank, and it's just crank, 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 crank. Oh, for quite a while to get the fuel bowl filled back up. I will be converting to electric fuel pump back at the tank, and that takes care of it. It pretty much solves it. So that's pretty much what's under the hood. It has about 340 horsepower, like 430 pound-feet of torque. But that was back then with the gross ratings. Today's ratings, probably 250 horse, 350 torque, something like that. Let's go ahead and hop into the shining, really beautiful part of this car. That my favorite is the interior. It is really nice. Take it away, Mrs. Wizard.
Are you ready to feel like you're in the movie Driving Miss Daisy? This thing is so perfect. It's amazing. Look at all these gauges. Yes, your HVAC system controls are over there right next to the door card. So only the driver's controlling that heat and cool. We move over, kind of around our steering wheel there. We can see we do have controls for the radio, our clock, which isn't working, unfortunately. That might be something Wizard can maybe source off of eBay. But more gauges as we move down. This is the nice added quintessential item needed for today, because this is our, it says, Climate Air Imperial. But back to our regular gauge cluster, it does say 87,712 miles. So wow, this is, and it does. I mean, it could be 187,000, but not as nice as this is. But look at this dash. This lived in Vegas its entire life. That dash could be cracked and spewing its guts, but it's not. We do see, can you see there is one nice little chip there, and we have a nice little star, there he is over there, but that's it. The rest of the windshield is very clear, not pitted like you would anticipate being such an old car. We do have a large glove box, and the emblem for Caddy is missing, so Wizard has that on order. He found it on eBay. That big dark cavern in there, that is your glove box with nothing in it. The front seat is a very large bench seat with a leather top and a fabric bottom, and the fabric is in very good condition. Yes, there's a little bit of color change, a little bit of staining on it. There we go, get some more light on there, but it's in really good shape. There's no major rips, there's no tears, all the buttons are in place. We even have the lovely Cadillac emblem embossed into the leather, into the armrest, and if I put that down, it's in really, really good shape. We even have nice leather bracing back in here, just so it catches and doesn't make it look raw. It's nicely finished. Door cards are quite impressive, have more of that fabric and the buttons as well. And that would be a spot. You can see one or two maybe they're starting to look loose, but they are still there. The stitches are still intact. The leather is not broken or anything. It is in really, really good shape. Here we are at the back seat, and it is, yes, another bench seat, and it is almost identical to what we see in the front, except above the armrest it is more filled in than what it is in the front. Door cards are in good shape, even though there's no actual door there, but it is in good shape. We have more of our fabric, and we have a little bit of a bar there to help you get in and out. Before we go, I wanted to point out a few items, and they're mostly on the door card on the driver's side. This is a Cadillac, and it has lots of little bells, whistles, and luxury items. The first one we see here is we do have our window controls for the front and the back. Even though they are very tiny little windows, they still have electric control. We have electric control for our seat. We have a manual control for our rear view mirror. And this little guy, this little one, yes, it isn't electric, but it does open up our nice little triangle windows. So we do have a manual in there. One thing that's interesting, and I can show you on the other side, when I press the window, notice that the car is not on, but the window can go up and down even with the key off. Okay, I'm really trying here. This steering wheel is huge and I love it. I love how it's just this little tiny spindles coming off with our beautiful Cadillac symbol in the center. There's our nice, beautiful centerpiece in our steering wheel, and it is in great shape. All that is looking in perfect condition. So enough of this interior talk. Let's get this on the lift and see what it looks like on the underneath.
Before we get this thing up in the air, I wanted to clarify with you guys. Some of you think I hate American cars, and that's not the case. I absolutely love them, especially old ones. This is my fourth old classic Cadillac. And although I go through a lot of cars, it might be difficult to get rid of this one because it's very hard to find a 63 in this good of condition. This is my favorite year. 67 is my second favorite. One thing that's interesting about Cadillac in the 60s is every single year is basically a completely different car. A 67, a 68, a 66, different cars. But I wanted to clarify that with you guys. I love old classic cars. Let's get this thing up in the air. Getting these old cars on the lift is different. A lot of newer cars, you actually put the pads of the lift arms on the pinch welds, because the body is the frame. But as many of you can imagine, these old cars have a true frame. In the later years, Cadillacs have a perimeter frame which goes around the outside near the edges of the body. It's easy to get underneath, but this year has the old X-frame, and you have to get just right. There's various little places you can put the pads, and it's pretty much the only place to put them. You guys probably heard a rattling noise while I was pulling it up. We're going to discover what that was. Let's take a look. Looks like the little hose here, when they put in a new radiator, they put some kind of gunk, or either that is leaking. I'm not sure what that is. It's white. There's our belts. Looks like we got a little leak going on there where the trans cooler goes in. Probably they didn't put any PTFE on the threads there. Looks like it has a new water pump. Yep, I saw a drip. So it does have a little coolant leak there. Looks like it has a brand new fuel pump. So that's good. So you can see our timing cover is caked with a little bit of oil. I'll probably wash it off and see maybe the oil pan needs to come off. Here's our oil pump. It's actually external on these. So if the oil pump were to go south on you, you don't have to drop the whole pan and mess with it. You can just fix it right there. Right above that is the oil filter. Over here we can see it has 4-wheel drum brakes. Looks like our shock bushings are shot. but nothing loose there. I can tell it needs some adjusting from the driving I've done. It needs all 4 drum brakes adjusted. Has some old hoses. I'll probably replace the hoses. Here's our sway bar bushing. It's not loose, but it is hard rubber, so I'll probably replace that as well. You can see our shock is blown out there. It's got oil coming out. I knew this thing was going to need some work, but I also knew that it didn't need to be fully torn apart, frame off. Everything looks good here. Nothing loose, nothing leaking out of the brakes. Looks like the old hose again. I'll put a new hose on. Looks like the grease is pushing out here on the tie rod end. But the boot is still holding pressure, so I'll probably leave it alone. Our steering gearbox is leaking, but it's not the gearbox. It's actually just a return hose up top. And it's pouring fluid out all over the steering gearbox. You can see an oil leak probably from the timing cover, probably the front main seal leaking down there. It'll need to be addressed. That's very likely what all this is here as well. This is engine oil. Here's our starter. That'd be easy to replace if it went bad. And here is the 4-speed automatic. I want to talk to you about that a little bit real quick. This is not a turbo hydromatic. It is a hydromatic. This is before the TH400, this is the last year they used this transmission in this car. It's the old school 1940s, 1950s hydromatic 4-speed. And it shifts beautifully, but it does look like it has a little bit of fluid leaks there around the pan. So we'll need a pan gasket. Our speedometer cable looks fine. It's a little wet. Transmission mount, it looks okay for now. It doesn't look torn or anything. Looks like someone put an output seal on the transmission there. One thing I'm really happy about, although it's dirty and dusty under here, no rust. Someone put a coating on this years and years ago. There's just a very minor surface rust and some dirt, some grunge. No rotting, no cancer, no rust, no wear. It is in very, very good shape.
Wizard, there seems to be a problem here.
It's happy to see you.
It's got a few missing pieces and parts.
So you guys are wondering about the rattle. I already knew about this even before I got the car. Here's the rattle. This exhaust clamp is loose. And as you can see, during shipping, the previous owner said at some point this entire piece fell off and broke off, and they didn't bother messing with it because he knew he was going to be selling it. So I will be having our exhaust guy here local in Newton putting all new exhaust for me all the way out the back. And that will take care of that noise and also put the exhaust out the back, not underneath the car. Here's our beefy drive shaft with a double cardan joint, which no one ever seems to be able to properly grease them, but I will be. Here's our big GM rear end, which has a removable, it's called a third member. You can unbolt these and remove the differential and gears and everything and put another one back in without doing too much setup. Uh-oh, this shock's blown out, Mrs. Wizard.
That is definitely blown out. There's no oil left in that thing at all.
But it does have the good brakes, are not leaking or anything. I'll probably put new hoses. I may just go through and pull all the brakes off and do the shoes and everything and just be done with it. New gas tank. I imagine this thing set, which they told me it did. It set for a while. They put a whole new fuel system in, and it runs great. Looks like this is starting to leak as well. I'll just put all 4 new shocks on it. Nothing leaking here. The brakes actually work. There's the old hose. Right here is where I can put an electric fuel pump and splice it in, and it'll push fuel even on the hottest day, fresh fuel up to the carburetor without having to crank the engine. Here's the hanger here where the exhaust should be. Should be a nice little tongue that slides into there. These just had single exhausts, and that's probably what I'll do. I'll keep it stock. I won't put duals on it. I'm not making this into a drag car. But let's check out the date codes on those Coker tires. So I found what I think is the date code. It says 2622. You guys can let me know if that's correct. If it is, these are fairly new. The previous owner told me they put these on recently. You can see all the little spikies on it for being brand new. Very likely they've got a lot of life left in them. So let's get this thing back on the ground. Before we go, we all want to know, is there any dead bodies in the trunk? If it does truly have a mafia history in the Vegas back in the 60s, maybe we don't want to know what's in the trunk. Let's find out anyway.
There's no junk in the trunk. There better not be any junk in the trunk.
I hope not. Looks like the only junk is a tire, Mrs. Wizard.
Well, that's probably necessary.
It does have all the original kind of carpet board that's in it. So many of these old Cadillacs, that stuff is missing. It's been gone for decades. And no one ever puts it back. But this one is all intact, 100%. And I'm very, very happy about that. It even has the bug shield, Mrs. Wizard.
Oh, that's nice. It does have a death trap back there. That's oh, you might call it the jack.
Yeah, I won't be using that jack at all. And a few little panels and pieces and things. But other than that, it looks very, very nice. Even though the jack is a death trap, it does have the original placard that shows actually how to use it. So that's usually not found in most old Cadillacs. That's gone a long time ago, but it's still here on this one. So you guys probably noticed when we did the walk around, you didn't see a little fuel door to filling the gas. And this has actually tripped up a lot of young guys that buy older cars. They walk in circles. Where the heck do I put gas in this thing? For many, many years, anyone who's 40 or older knows. Right there, behind the license plate. There's the fuel filler neck. Take that off, put gas in it. I remember on an older Cadillac I used to have, I showed that to my daughters and they were just silent. They were like, what? You could hear crickets like you can now. Yeah, it was really weird for them. So anyways, get this closed up. There's no dead bodies. I'm very happy to report there's no dead bodies. So let me know in the comments, guys, how did I do? I think I did pretty good. Anytime I've looked at older cars, the immediate deal killer for me would be the interior being trashed. I can do all kinds of things. I can fix all kinds of things, but interiors can literally suck thousands and thousands of dollars to have somebody go through and redo it. And usually after it's redone, it's never the same again. No matter how good the upholstery guy is, it never is the same again. But this one is pretty much 100% intact. It has a few small tears in the seat, and like Mrs. Wizard said, it has a few chips in the windshield. But when I saw the interior and I knew that it ran and drove good, and I saw the paint was decent, all the trim pieces are intact, it's not rusted out, I was sold. I can fix all the little things that it has. Once I get it mechanically sound, I know I don't have to redo the interior. It doesn't need it. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this old 63 Cadillac, or any other car in the shop actually, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. The tools we use in the shop are actually listed for sale there, and if you purchase anything, we get a small cut and really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because we have so many more cool videos to come. And also, Mrs. Wizard has a surprise coming for you guys as well. Thanks for watching.